Does anyone have any squeaky chair hacks? Because, like, I feel like I'm saying this every video now, but listen. I could body this chair right now, I swear to it. I really am raging, aren't I? It really is. It is the most frustrating thing when you sit down to record, you get everything ready, but then the chair is just squeak, squeak, squeak. Welcome to Beyond the Walk, guys. We haven't done this in a while. This video was a long time coming. I was supposed to do it between, after this episode 1, and then I was supposed to do a Telltale one, but weirdly, every time I went to record it, I thought to myself, I don't really feel like doing a Beyond the War. I feel like just getting into the next episode. I think specifically because last episode I didn't speak afterward, and on top of that, quite a lot happened, and there are a few people that did specifically ask for a Beyond the War post that episode. So here we are, guys, post that episode. We didn't get a lot of questions, I'll admit, but I've got a lot of things I want to talk about. So the first Beyond the War question is thoughts. Well, right now I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do after this. Probably watch the second Transformers movie because I just watched the first one. I've been thinking a lot about how I just groomed my dogs, and let's just say it was my first time. I'm thinking about caffeine, the fact that a lot of people have commented good things about the moustache, and then a lot of people have banished me because of the moustache. So there's a lot of thoughts. But in terms of Beyond the War thoughts on The Walking Dead, stay tuned. And the second one, that opening scene of the woman having her nose ripped off was quite gory. Wanted to know your thoughts on that brutal sequence. Lydia seeing that at such a young age is really unfortunate. Insert clip here. Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah, I mean, that's how I felt about it. It was disgusting. Yeah, nah, that ain't no easy scene to watch, my friend. I'm not gonna call it enjoyable because it really wasn't. I want to know your thoughts on that brutal sequence. It was, pretty brutal. And I was rather harsh on that lady too. I felt real bad because when it happened, just prior to that, I was yelling at her to jump out the window. And yeah, I was thinking, oh, new character. Nope. Unlucky. What I will say is this. I actually edited this whole sequence out of that reaction because I thought it was just unnecessary and the reaction was getting kind of long. But at the start of that episode, I was suffering with allergies, sniffles, so there was a whole bunch of me explaining the fact that I had sniffles, and I thought it was my fan. I've got a fan that's right there, and it sort of pointed at my face, and my nose was so itchy, and I was saying it before the reaction, and then after that scene, I laughed and joked around saying that, there's a part of me that wishes that was my nose. Yeah, my thoughts on Lydia seeing at a young age, yeah, look, as we saw with Carl, as we saw with any young person growing up in this world, they're going to see some vile, brutal crap. So it didn't, shock me that she had seen something like that, but of course I feel sympathy for her considering when we saw what she was like in this episode, she's not like her mother. Let's put it this way. With Carl, we kind of took the bubble wrap off as gradually as we could, and he kind of took the reins on it. With Lydia, it kind of looks like her mother kind of just didn't even band-aid in the first place. It was just gone. That is the one big difference I think we'll get to see between Lydia and, let's say, Carl or Enid or anyone that sort of grew up in this world is Lydia didn't even really have a parent. Nor did she have a supportive figure. She was kind of raised by someone who was going to abandon her if she was weak. Very, very, very different dynamic. And yeah, I still think we'll see more on that. I don't think we've seen the full development of Lydia, might I say. What do you think Dale would have thought of the group now if he had still been alive? Do you think the group would have had more of a moral compass if he was still around? Now that I've seen the show as far as I have, I can understand why. I don't think his character would have survived, but let's say he does. I think he would have gone through something similar to what Rick went through. Look, Rick was probably the closest we had to Dale at that moment, but even at a time, Dale was disappointed in Rick, if we can remember back to that. Damn. Dale was definitely morally inclined, for sure, not very flexible in terms of his morals. He was like blunt, like the morals were morals. Whereas Rick, I think, wasn't quite like that, but I think Rick did eventually sort of develop similar traits, but I'm not going to say completely. Similarly that we got with Rick and his progression of moral sort of weaning, I think we would have got something like that with Dale. I don't think Dale would be disappointed in the group right now. I think Dale would have been disappointed in some of the decisions for sure. And you know what? If he have survived and he did still have that stern moral compass, there's a very, very big part of me that thinks that he would have left the group, say, let's say when we went and killed all those saviors in their sleep. I don't think he would have he wouldn't have wanted a part of that. I think he would have gone. I don't think he would have stuck around. But now, the longer he survived in the apocalypse, the more I think he'd understand where we went and what we did. I'm not saying he'd agree with it. I don't know. I think there would be elements to how far we've come that he'd be disappointed in, but I think ultimately, I think he'd be proud of Rick's vision and Carl's vision. I think that's what, I think he would be an advocate for that vision. I think he would agree with the concept of where we're heading to now. Like, it may have taken him a while to agree with it, but I think he would have ended up on the same path. Honestly, I think he probably would have had some kind of utopic vision like Carl's before we did, but I don't know. Like, it's kind of like hard to imagine him surviving anyway, because I speak about this a lot, and I've spoken a lot about Shane, and people say, what if Shane survived? And I said, I don't think Shane, I always said didn't think Shane was really in the right developmental stage for the apocalypse to survive. Like, he was so far on and to the point where he didn't fit the current circumstance, or he didn't fit the crowd. If he was by himself, or he was in a group of people that had the same mindset, he probably would have lasted a very long time. But the point is he didn't. He was in a group of people that didn't have those viewpoints. He wasn't adaptable, he wasn't this, he wasn't that, he wasn't the other. So similarly to Dale, I think Dale was too moral for the moment. And I think that there would have been something that came up again, and he would have died in another way. Like, look, I actually compared myself a lot to Dale early on, and it's funny because now that I look back at my reactions, I remember people used to upset me a little bit, just a little bit, because I used to remember getting comments like, you would never survive, like, oh my god, you're so, like, ridiculously moral, or you're so, like, the way you view things is just not right. Like, and they just talk about how, like, I would die because I'm too soft, or I would die because of this or that or the other. It used to upset me a bit. So I think to myself, really? Like, I think this is how you're supposed to think. But funnily enough, now when I look back at me, brother, I admire where you were, and I aspire to have that part of you in me still. I do. But, like, that part cannot be all there is. Could not be all there is. And the reason people like me in that moment would have survived would have been because of people around me, and perhaps me not making big decisions. I think now it would be slightly, maybe a different story. I don't know. Look, I don't know. This is all fiction. For all I know, all the moral people would survive in the apocalypse and everyone else wouldn't. But yeah, I don't think he would have survived. Oh, that reminds me. I posted this recently in the Discord. If you don't follow the Discord, you probably should. Isn't it crazy that there is the first Beyond the Wall? It was cool seeing that. Like, this is one of my favourite categories on the channel, is the category where I just get to sit and talk. Sometimes reacting is fantastic, but, like, my brain just likes to motor mouth, and this gives me that platform to do so, and for some reason people like hearing it. I mean, you know what? I have thought, if I ever watched a YouTuber that had a similar kind of concept like this, like a Beyond the War, it would be the sort of thing that I'd probably try and listen to, like before bed or in bed. I don't know why. Like, I think of it like a podcast. I just thought that was cool seeing that photo. And then I was just sort of pointing out that we're now there. Any more Beyond the Wall questions for 10 times 2, everyone? See, we didn't get barely any questions, which is mad to me. Why do you think Beta is hiding his face? You know what? I don't know the answer to this. All I can say is that when we got that little backstory, it wasn't just his face that he scribbled out. It was someone else that was there too. Maybe a father or something? He had scribbled their face out too. Maybe he doesn't like people seeing his face because he associates it with something horrible in his past, or I don't know. Like, look, he was in a mental ward. I don't know. There's a lot about his backstory which we don't know yet. You know, we know that he's clearly not well up here. Like, the weird thing is, right, is a lot of the time he seems like he's logical in his thinking, but then it's like there's a part of him that's absent. You know, like, and he even said like a line like, this is the one song that I hope doesn't end. It's like the sound of the walkers. I'm like, damn, maybe it's like burnt or something. Maybe it's like, maybe he was in a seriously abusive, maybe he was abused by a father or something seriously, and he maybe his face is half burned. Maybe it's like Phantom of the Opera. Maybe it's like scarred, or maybe he's missing an eye like the governor, but you kind of get the feeling like it would be more than that, right? Maybe he wore a mask before because his face was disfigured. Maybe it was, and maybe the reason he likes living the way he does now is because he doesn't really have to hide. Why do you think Beta is hiding his face? As we can clearly see in 10 times 2, he was hiding it away before wearing walker skin. Why does he hide his face? I don't know, like, literally, I don't think I've had any hints towards it. There probably are in the episode, I've just probably missed them. But he's really, like, anti people seeing his face, hey? Like, anti people seeing his face. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know the answer to that. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Didn't get me, boy. Do you find it strange it's been over 3 days and Jesus still has not come back? What? Jesus got shanked. No idea what that means. How would you like the Whisperer's era to end? I think I've already spoken a bit about this. I would love to see those that want to live that way get to live that way. I don't have an issue with it. As long as they're not preaching on other people and hurting other people and whatnot, does not bother me in the slightest. But if I had to think about how they were going to end, I feel like finding a way where we can create a community that's open to people in that scenario too. Like, look, we've already seen a glimpse of, like, they're not all completely, they don't all have the same ideologies and logic as Alpha. I think actually, you know what, it would be pretty hard to find people that do share that. I think if anything, there's only really 2 people in that group which I can adamantly and accurately say, yep, those Beta and Alpha have that logic. And you know what? I don't even think Alpha's going to have that permanently. I think Beta's the one who's going to have it. I feel like Beta's going to be the most likely not to budge. Either they realize that it's not the only way to live, or they become led by someone else. I always had this weird vision of Lydia leading them, you know, like Lydia going back and leading them the right way. As I've said, this is like a pack. And a pack, once its Alpha is either not around or no longer the Alpha or dead, I don't know, someone else is going to have to step up. And I just have this weird vision of Lydia doing that to protect the people, to protect us and to protect the people that she cares about, even in that group. She will go back and she'll lead them the right way. If they think that's the best way to survive and people feel the safest doing so, then why not? Knowing a bit more of Beta's backstory and how Alpha basically took advantage of him, do you think he could have been rehabbed had he had met our group first? Or do you think he was already too far gone by the time Alpha had shown up? I think if you're in a place like that, you're not really going to be rehabbed. Honestly, one of the saddest things in my opinion about the apocalypse would be that a lot of people that need ongoing permanent care and treatment wouldn't be able to survive. They just wouldn't. Beta is a very rare case of someone being able to survive alone somehow. God knows how. You know what? I think he relies on Alpha. I don't think it's like, I don't think either of them could probably survive alone at the moment, but no, I don't think he could have been rehabbed. To be in a place like that, something has to be wrong up here. And I'm not talking like Governor Negan, like something snapping post-apocalypse. Something was already snapped. You know, and Alpha took advantage of that. We saw it. We saw her, like, whistling, and you could see the cogs going in her brain, right, of how can I use this person? Unless we were going to do the same thing, I just genuinely believe he was not going to fit. You know what? Maybe he could have been brought into our community, but, like, once again, he's going to need permanent care. That's why he is there, right? He's going to need someone who can care for him. He's unmedicated, I know that for a fact. I don't know, look, we'll see a bit more about Alpha. I'll see how I feel about this character and whether I feel like he's there. Because I feel like he's more invested in the fantasy. They keep talking about the world we live in as a fantasy, but I think he is so invested in the fantasy he lives in. I don't see anyone drawing him away from that. Not even Alpha. Yeah, I think he was already too far gone, and it just took either death was going to catch up to him or someone like Alpha was. Or I guess someone like us would have, but would he even have come with a group like us? I don't even know, man. I honestly think Daryl would have shot him on sight if they met him in that state. Yeah, man. Bruh, if I see someone in a hallway like that, I'm not bloody... If anything, I'm trigger happy. No, I'm kidding. Imagine he is like a super far on Shane. Like, you know, this is the dumbest comparison ever, but like, if you imagine someone that like was already brutal enough for this world on onset day, and was fully isolated, so he is the product of surviving alone in that brutal, far ahead state that perhaps other people didn't get the exposure to. I don't know, maybe it's just because he is in the place he is in. You know, he kind of had walls protecting him from, I don't know. Because if a group, honestly, if a group had found him early, now there's a part of me thinking that maybe he would have even been killed by a group like our group because of being too brutal or too, I don't know, man. My brain's all over the place now. I don't. The problem is I don't know enough about Beta yet. How well do you think Saviors under Negan would handle Alpha and her people? Negan would not have been able to tame Alpha and their group, because it's not like a community. It's not like he's going and asking for tax, you know what I mean? Like, she literally has a pack that all answer to the leader, to Alpha. We saw how the Saviors compound got overrun. Walkers, right? The whiff and a whiff of Alpha feeling like she'd probably do the same thing. She'd give him a chance. She'd say, hey, look, don't come into our territory, leave us alone, or whatnot. Probably ask for Lydia, I don't know. Like, if we're talking identical situations, if Negan had just said, fuck you, and then gone against what she'd said, she'd just absolutely flood the place with walkers. If anything, Negan would be in a worse place than he is now, because now at least he got refuge, much to the disgust of a lot of people, much to the disgust of some of us at the time as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think, honestly, I think overall, if you're putting Negan against Alpha, no brainer. Negan's the far superior villain, right? Okay, but you put what they stand for in their communities up against each other, and like Alpha's just, she has adapted to this world. Negan was adapting to try and live in this world. She literally became this world. But in saying that, I'm sure, I don't think that we're not going to see some kind of confrontation between them. I think we will. I think we very much will do so. And you know what's funny? I see some similarities in them. Just like I see some similarities in Rick and Negan. You know, I see some similarities in a lot of these leaders. Yeah, some of them stand for different things, and it all comes back to that adage again of, is there anyone really a villain of their own story? Obviously, from our point of view, like I see Rick as the complete opposite of a villain, but if you're standing on the other side of the fence, you probably think Rick's the worst of them all. Talking about Rick, because we haven't even goddamn seen him yet. Fucking stupid. I was thinking about this dumb thing the other day, by the way. We've only got like, is this the second to last season or the third to last? I don't know. And he's still not back. How many episodes do we actually get with him now? I'm starting to feel a little bit shit about that, you know. Anyway. I'd like to hear what you thought about Aaron asking and kind of sounding like he doubts whether we're the good guys. My thoughts on there. I think I may have spoken about it, and I kind of said, of course we're the good guys because of what we stand for. Others may not view us as the good guys because they don't understand who we are or what we're doing. But from our point of view, knowing full well everything is coming from a good place, or at least the intent of doing something good, even if it's our only choice, and maybe the choice seems bad, okay? We know our characters enough to know that we are good. The idea of being a good guy in this world is a bit vague, you know, like, because what do you mean by a good guy? Because I don't think, you know what, just like we started this Beyond the Wall talking about Dale, let's end it talking about Dale. Dale would not have survived if he was all good. Maybe that's what it's about. Nobody's all good, but nobody's all bad. Maybe we need to think about that every time we judge a character. Even Alpha. This episode showed us a glimpse, and we've seen it before. What does Alpha do all this for? Lydia. What does that stem from? Love? Probably. Is it a messed up portrayal of it? Fuck yes. This ain't no normal portrayal of love. God damn. You know, like, you got to think about the origins of the war. Whoa. But the start of it. Anything else to say? Yes. Okay. Now we've answered the questions. We've gone into that. I don't think there are any more. I'm so sorry if I missed your question. If I did, remember to put them in the Discord, because that's really where they go, guys. Now it's my turn. What did we learn last episode? Alpha really manipulated the shit out of him from the start, damn. Like I said, she's prepped for this world. She's scary, yeah, like she really is. I did speak briefly in that episode about how like they've written her so goddamn well, because it's like, damn. Like, it's really hard to imagine that she, like she will go far. And you know what's crazy, right? Like, I keep talking, sorry, squeak, 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 squeak. I keep talking about how, like, nothing shocked me more than Negan's entourage and his big onset, that firework episode, 6x16 and 7x1. I've always speak about how nothing really shocks me more than that. But when we really think about it, guys, maybe that big shocking episode took the shock out of me. So now I'm kind of prepared for big shocks. And things don't really feel like that. And I'm thinking about how I felt back then. So I'm comparing things that happen now to basically how I reacted back then. When you compare the two properly, Negan set off one warning shot. One. Then we defied him, and then he went for another. When you look what Alpha did on her first warning, how many heads were on spikes? When you really look at it like that, it's like chalk and cheese. Alpha's significantly more willing to do damage, significantly less empathetic. And the more I look back at it, and I look back at that situation with Negan, the more I think to myself, he didn't probably want to do that. I think he knew he would have had to. I think he went there knowing multiple people would have died. Yes, I think he would have assumed that was going to happen. He's a very smart person who knows a lot about people. But if you notice what's crazy about that, he's really kept the collateral damage very low. Like, the number of people that he killed, it's not like he went and just brutalized 10 people and then warning one. And that makes me really think about what he said about how people are a resource and he doesn't want to kill people. The more I learn about Alpha, the less I see Negan as a bad guy. Isn't that crazy? Now, I still see Negan as being a bit messed up, but like a lot of that I'm sort of attributing to him having to portray a character. Very, very similarly, in parallel, Alpha has to do the same thing. Like we sort of saw in the most recent episode, she sort of said to Beta, they can't know. They can't know that I was too weak to kill my daughter. Because what does that mean, right? She has to portray an image. She has to. As a pack leader, right, to maintain what this group is, the dynamic, she is required to come across a certain way. Same as Negan. Isn't that crazy when you like really compare them? And I guess when you think about it, they were both sort of pushing for the survival of a pack. So like it's really, really hard for me to like, I see how bad I see how bad Alpha is and I'm sympathizing with Alpha now. How can I blame Negan still? When someone like Alpha, even Alpha is making me feel like there are parts of me that's like, damn, like I like feel almost hurtful that I couldn't have known her before the snap. Do you know what I mean? Negan never really had a snap. Not that I've seen. Maybe he had a little one. I actually always theorized that he kind of had a half snap. And we did see some evil stuff, for sure. For sure we did. But I think that, in comparison, it hasn't been that crazy. And I still, honestly, I think Negan is more powerful than any character we've seen. But I think the Governor was more evil than Negan. The Governor experienced a full snap, as has Alpha. But anyway, gosh almighty, we talk so much about Negan, so I'm gonna cut that there because we will be talking for a hell of a long time if I keep yapping. And then we get the final big reveal that in an attempt to regain or to show the group that what we as a group, aka Michonne, Rick, etc., are fighting for as a like paradise, whatever you want to call it, in their eyes as a fantasy. So they want to show that again and be real stern about it. So they are using the flames and the smoke and us putting out the meteor as an excuse to come back and break the rules. Because I don't believe that Alpha believes that that is a legitimate reason to come back and show us hell. But they're gonna do it. So anyway, that's where the next episode is heading. Let me just establish this as well, guys. That goddamn satellite would have attracted a lot more than just walkers and Alpha, and this is where it all ropes into me with Rick and Jadis and whatever that is and wherever that is and how that's manifesting and eventually going to collide paths as well. Do they show an interest with what has just fallen from the sky? In which case, do we see a glimpse of others? And there's still the radio message, by the way, guys, that we heard, Ezekiel heard at the end of the last season. So there is a lot still to look forward to. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say. I've kind of answered the questions. I did feel like this was going to... I thought this would be a bit more of a directed view on the world, but I really have just rambled a lot. So I hope it has been enjoyable. I hope it's been sensical, guys, and I hope you guys have stayed tuned, and I hope you guys enjoyed the last episode. The next thing that comes out should be Telltale. I'm hoping to play some tomorrow. Maybe even release it tomorrow. Today's Friday. I should have a Telltale out by the end of the week, and ideally, in my eyes, I would have also recorded 10 times 3. Obviously, I have course again Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, so those days are pretty big no's for recording for the most part. Sometimes I allow myself recording time, but I try not to, purely because I've got to be up so early and I get home kind of late, so like I try and just keep those hours after course for editing or for doing other things, you know, keeping a routine. But if I have time, I will think about it, guys. I will keep you updated in the Discord. If you don't follow that, don't forget to do so. Don't forget to follow the Instagram, guys, DanRed with 2 Ds. And yeah, that's all from me. As ever, it's been more Dan. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.